No. I didn't get a message yet, so.
It said we were. I don't know. Anyway, we're live now. We've got this thing beat. We had to scrap the old live feed and build a new one real quick to get YouTube to cooperate. So welcome, everybody. It's 9 o'clock straight up on the dot. Maybe. We're within 20 minutes. And it's Tuesday night, so that means it's time to tell you welcome to the Get Off My Lawn podcast. We are broadcasting live from an undisclosed location in the Sandhills Media Empire. I've always wanted to say that, from an undisclosed location.
I don't believe that at all.
So everybody that was in the panel had to jump out because I had to restart the computer, and they're all coming back in. And I think everybody's almost back, and hopefully everybody that was out in the live chat makes it back over into this one. We will give everybody time to get that done here real quick. So,
with the way this chat's going, somebody might mistake it for a right of the people.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. Every time that and I don't ever catch those live, but every time I watch Budget's chat, I feel for him because I know exactly what it's like to have the issues.
Yeah, apparently I was having issues with GunTube earlier this evening. And you know what? Even though he wasn't around, I'll tell you what, Budget Guns and Gear Reviews was here in spirit. Because GunTube wasn't cooperating. I'm like, come on, we're here. Why isn't it working? And it's just like, how it is.
Heck yeah.
It's not a podcast without technical difficulties, right?
Well, apparently not. It just wouldn't be Tuesday night without something going wrong and making everybody hang out for 20 minutes without us. So the good news is that when that happens, my lovely bride is over there in the chat just talking to everybody and filling them in what's going on, telling everybody, hey, scrap this chat and go find the new one. So there we are. All right. We've got, I think, just about everybody back here in our panel. So we're going to go ahead and let everybody say hello, and we'll get the night going. So we'll just run up the list here. The first one I've got down here is Mr. Pat, coming to us from South Central Nebraska. What's up, Pat?
Here we are. All right. Oh, not much. Just glad to be here, and yeah, let's get to the show.
Heck yeah. Thanks for being here. Next up, we've got the GunTube father himself, Mr. Nightstrike.
The father of GunTube. Hey, that sounds got a good ring to it.
The father of GunTube.
GunTube Godfather.
Yeah, you like that?
Godfather.
No,
not Godfather, just the father of GunTube.
The Tube Father. The Tube Father.
Well, I don't know.
The GunTuber who strikes at night.
There we go.
Our Father who art in GunTube.
Thanks for the invite.
How would be thy nickname, with thy screen name?
I'm sorry you caught my what was it? The technical difficulties virus.
Yeah, that bug seems to be going around to everybody lately.
It does.
Anyway, yeah, it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter, and we did figure out a way to outfox those San Francisco giants out there called YouTube. So, there we go. All right, next up, we've got Mr. Duke Liberty.
Hey, thanks for the invite. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. Duke's out there in that state of Michigan, and so is this other fella, Squibload. If you can hit the mute button, we'll let you say hi.
Yeah, thanks for leading up to that. That gave me enough time to unlock the phone and get to it. So
That's right.
Yeah, here in Michigan, where the wind is blowing and the snow is falling, and
Exactly. Where the men are real men, and so are most of the women. Wait, what? No. Okay. Okay, we're going to kick it back. We're going to kick it back across Nebraska. We've got everybody's favorite Maestro de Español. I can't speak Spanish. I'm glad that. Yeah, whatever. Everybody's favorite Spanish teacher. He's pretty fly for a white guy. What's up, Travis?
True. Hey, not much, man. I want to apologize to Squib for sending all that snow his way because we had that last night and this morning. So, lo siento, amigo. That's all I got to say. But real quick, check out my channel, Travis P11, over on YouTube. Lots of great content. Make sure you subscribe to everybody on this panel this evening. Thanks a lot, man.
Hey, Travis, it's fine. I got four-wheel drive. I'm good.
Oh, that's right. That's right. The six-pack in the passenger seat, right?
We didn't even get rained on here, so we got none of the snow that you guys got. So it skipped us and went straight to Michigan. All right. Well, someplace a little bit warmer and currently not on fire, as far as I know, is Northern California. We've got Calaveras 32 Special from behind enemy lines out there. What's up?
And just enjoying the sunny and 70 degrees out here, and yeah, as of yet, no major fires that I've heard of.
Good.
You guys can keep that sub-zero and feet of snow. I'm good.
You want some snow.
I want some snow just in the high country where because that's our major water supply for the year.
I want snow, but I want it to be 70 degrees.
Well, that's where if we can get snow above 4,000 feet in the Sierras, means the rest of the state will have water this summer, and that'll be a plus. Especially if we have to start fighting any major fires, then it gives us something to fight with.
Knock on wood, Nebraska doesn't get flooded out this year, but if we do, we'll gladly send you some water out west.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
See if we can
figure out a way to get it out there.
Steal the materials out of the Keystone Pipeline and just send it, hook it to the rivers and send it our way.
Pipeline it. We won't even go over the Great Divide. We'll just bore a tunnel straight through.
Just airdrop it.
We'll figure out something.
Keystone pipes are sitting out in my backyard. They're not even hooked up yet.
Nice.
I appreciate the invite, Santos.
Yeah, thanks for being here, pal. We're going to jump back over to the state of Nebraska, holding it down in the capital city. We've got Defense Dad joining us for the first time.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Hey, thanks for the invite.
Yeah, thanks for being here. All right, and last but not least, we're going to kick it back over to the east coast of the United States, the land of Mary. Kingpin's holding it down over there for us.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for the invite.
Glad to have everybody here. And who do we have out here in the chat? It's already getting lively. Everybody, I think, is making their way over here. So, of course, my beautiful bride, Sandhills Sweetheart, was the first one showing up over here. And then SS Pawn, we've got Stan in the house. We've got Bishop Ammunition and Firearms. So, hello, ladies Bishop. We've got G23. And I don't think I've seen G23 before, so welcome. Who else do we have? Keith Gregory, Dangerous Freedom, Guitar Man Pete, Jay Brown's in the house, Seven Wonders made it, Agorizer, 10X Shooters. Who else do we have? Night Strikes out there and in here, Duke's out there and in here. Guy that comments, I think Kingpin's out there. Midnight Range made it. Is that everybody so far? Am I not seeing any other new names yet as I scroll? Oh, Mike's in the house. And Two Gun Kitty, the Catnip Outlaw. So if you're out there watching and you are not commenting, we cannot see you and we don't get to tell you hello. Up to Live Moo, I missed you. There we are. So make us drop some comments so we can at least say hi, just like we can to 9mm. We'll say hi to you at the end of the night. That's one of the things my bride does is she keeps a list so that at the end of the night we can say hi to everybody that was talking out there in the chat. So we want to know who's out there. When we've got 25 people and about 12 in the chat, we know there's a lot of people that aren't commenting. So it's time that you join the fun so we know who you are too. All right, real quick before I forget, quick announcement. We'll get the bad news out of the way. Sandhills Sweetheart had a loss in her family. We will not be around next week. There will not be Get Off My Lawn podcast next week. So the first week in March, we will skip that week and come back after that. So we appreciate those of you that already know what's going on. I believe she was talking to you guys out in the chat. So you know what happened. She lost her grandmother. So we're going to be doing the funeral and family stuff next week. So we will not be around. We appreciate everybody that's been out there in the chat that's commented on that. We appreciate that and your prayers for the family.
That throws a wrench into the plans for next week.
It does.
You were supposed to film Travis P11 next week. So
I know. So I will not be doing that. I need
another of the Nebraskan folks to volunteer for him to be the hit or miss co-host next week.
Man,
Okay, that's where
we'll find
since
you
night
somebody.
strike,
Nebraska contingent.
since night strike won't say it, from the rest of us, condolences to you and sweetheart, and you guys take care of what you need to take care of yourselves and family, and don't worry about us.
You guys are awesome. Thank you.
I was just trying to throw some humor in there, but yeah,
nice, Rick. You can't talk your way out of that one.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. That is, I think, the only major announcement that we've got going on. So anyway, we're gonna just jump into this because we're already a half an hour into our time slot here, and it was a short night last night, and I don't want this to go too long tonight. So, all right, we're going to talk tonight about socialism, and I know that we did this here a while back, back on a Tuesday when that was running. So we've had this discussion a little bit, but it's very relevant because you can't turn on the news and not hear some sort of socialist program now being offered by just about everybody who's trying to get the nomination for the Democratic ticket. And so, of course, the biggest ones are probably Bernie and Warren, but don't kid yourself. Everybody on those debate stages is pushing socialism in some form or another. It's just a matter of how much and how bad it's going to be for us if they were to get their way. So, a couple things we're going to talk about tonight, and hopefully we'll get time to get through all of them. But things like Medicare for all are getting pushed. Free college for everybody, student loan forgiveness, and then raising the minimum wage to $15. Now, there's a lot of other stuff I know that's being talked about as well, but due to time constraints, we're going to see if we can fit all of those. We might have to revisit these here down the road. So, all right. So first of all, Medicare for all. There's a couple things that have been going on, and Obamacare was actually kind of a precursor to this and kind of laying the foundation where they said, you can keep your doctor, but you're going to have to do the insurance and everything through that. And the cool thing is, not only do they force you to have insurance, they fine you if you don't. It seemed like that was a terrible part of it too. So Medicare for all, here's my thoughts on that, and we'll get the ball rolling here. We'll just let everybody jump in, and we won't go around the horn. But as far as Medicare for all, the first thoughts that I have in my mind are, of course, that doesn't mean free healthcare, because we're going to see this be a recurring theme all night. Nothing is free. If you take away the entire private health insurance industry, which obviously we know that won't happen overnight, but that is what some of these people want to happen. They want to just snap their fingers. No more private health insurance. You have to get your health insurance through the government, through Medicare, and of course the way that we pay for this, nobody really has still a concrete way to pay for this. We'll cover what's going to happen with the money end of it here in a second. But the first thing that's going to happen is the government is now going to be the one that is in charge of making sure that the doctor gets paid, because I don't have the money for the surgery that I need or something like that, which is why I have insurance. And so if the government is funding, which of course, yes, that's the taxpayers, I know. If the government is funding my health insurance, then they're going to all of a sudden want to have a say-so in whether or not I really need that surgery or whatever procedure is about to be done. They want to have a say-so in how far up the list I am when it comes time to schedule that surgery. Maybe other things are more important that we should spend the money on besides my surgery. The biggest issue that I have is right now we have got some of the best, if not the best, doctors in the world here in the United States. If you've been around hospitals at all, then you know that when it comes to any specialized medicine, and even a lot of the family practitioners, but especially when you get into specialty areas, there are a lot of great doctors in your town that are not from the United States originally. They came here because this is where the money is. This is where the industry is. This is where the cutting edge is for tech, for drugs, all that kind of stuff. And the American free market is what funds all the research and all of the big things that are getting done. And I know they're making breakthroughs in other countries, but you look at the breakthroughs that have come from the U.S. compared to the rest of the world, and it's not a contest. Those doctors are here because they can get the best of everything, including the paycheck. All of a sudden, they're not able to charge what they've been charging anymore. And we regulate what they can charge. What incentive does that doctor have, number one, to stay here and take an extreme pay cut? And number two, if you got told tomorrow that you're expected to keep your job and make half as much, would you try as hard as you did today? Probably not. What incentive does the doctor have to make sure that I get the best care possible if we're not going to pay him or her to do it? So those are my first two concerns, not to mention where the money's going to come from to actually pay for all this stuff. But the first concern I have is the quality of the healthcare as a whole in this country is going to diminish rapidly because we're not going to have the good doctors anymore, and they're not going to want to work. So I'll start the ball with that. What do you all think about that part?
Dude, I gotta agree with you, man. I mean, I think that's true in just about any field. I just taking away the salary is gonna decrease performance. It's gonna, yeah. I mean, no, I can imagine. I mean, I've got problems with the I guess you could say our private healthcare industry right now, just with the cost, what it costs.
Oh, absolutely.
Policy. I mean, that right there, and then also
it's a little bit inflated.
What these doctors do charge and what hospitals do charge can be obscene, in my opinion. Especially when you hear what other people pay in other countries for the same procedures and stuff. But no, but I mean, I don't disagree with you at all. I think you're right. I mean, that is true. If you know, the government's going to control it. The government's going to say who gets to do it. The government's going to say how much you get paid. You know, yeah, that kind of thing actually scares me, especially somebody who's getting older now. It's 20 or 30 years. I might be looking into these things. And, I don't want that kind of a system, you know?
And let's go into that a little bit, because there are maybe some people out there listening right now that are thinking they'd really like to see, you know, how fancy my tinfoil hat is. And I'm not wearing it right now, but it's fancy, y'all. It's got a chin strap. It's pretty cool. But this isn't tinfoil hat stuff. This is real. A couple years ago, this was talked about, and if you're paying attention to current events, then you know that this just leaked again recently. Just last week, I heard this from Mike Bloomberg, and I know that the recording was from a few years back, but they just were playing it again here last week, where he was saying we have to make some decisions on who gets the health care, and nobody wants to do that. And he's right. There's a few things that Bloomberg says that I do agree with. He is a realist. I'll give him that much. He said we have to have some of these discussions where we need to decide who gets the care. If you walk in and you're 95 years old and you've got prostate cancer, we're going to tell you, you know what? Go have a good life. There's nothing more we can do for you. If you're younger, then yeah, we can do something about it. Okay, those are Mike Bloomberg's words. I paraphrased them, but that's exactly what he said. And so that is exactly what's going to happen if the government would be the sole provider of health care and health insurance. And if they're the sole provider of health insurance, they're going to be the sole provider of health care. That's the next logical step, is they regulate every hospital and clinic, and pretty soon they're all state-run institutions. We lose our private health insurance. We lose our private medical industry as a whole. And so it's not a huge leap to think that pretty soon it's a state-run hospital. Those of you that have been that I have been blessed with your service to our country in the armed forces and have dealt with the VA. You know how that works.
And for those who, for those that haven't served and don't know exactly how the VA, think of, the local DMV, and think of it. Now you're trying to get health care from the DMV.
No. If Satan,
That's
ran
where,
the
from what
DMV,
Travis
then
was.
Satan ran the DMV. That would be the VA. That's awesome.
Barack Obama said that the plan behind Obamacare was to fail. That was his words were, "This is not designed to work. This is designed to fail." So the Obamacare thing, the Affordable Care Act that we've got going on, is designed to fail so they can have fully government control. So this was all a setup from the very beginning, and Barack Obama admitted it.
He also said that if your grandmother needs a knee replacement surgery, we'll just give her pain pills instead. He said that on national TV when he was trying to sell Obamacare. And I'm thinking, how can anybody be behind this? Now, yes, certain people of certain age with certain health conditions maybe can't undergo surgery. And that's up to the doctors, the medical staff to be able to have that conversation with that person and say you're high risk. In which case you can go get a second opinion. That's the beauty of our healthcare system here. But under the government thing, they're going to say, nope, sorry, you're too, and you may not be 95. You might be 65. Do you want to be told you can't get knee surgery even though you've been paying in taxes your whole life and now you're on the government health care because you can't get private health care, and they're going to tell you, here, take some pain pills for the next possibly 30 years? I mean, that's just, it's not the right way to do it. Looking at the whole, who do we give treatment to and who do we not? I don't really know that it's more about age than life choices. Do you give the liver transplant to the alcoholic for the third time in the row when there's some person that really needs it who just has a genetic liver disease? I mean, somebody who wants to keep making bad choices over and over and over again, I don't know that they necessarily deserve government paid for health care, but the age thing, there is some logic to it, but there's other stuff that's just plain morbid.
And that's where a point I'd like to kind of make, off of what one of the things Travis said about the expense. Version 0.0, the initial idea of one of the points of Obamacare when it was first thought of. By the time it even was submitted to Congress, I think it was gone. But talking about the cost, okay, because I've have close family friends that have spent significant time in the hospital, and okay, well, you need an aspirin. What is it, $20 to buy a bottle of 500 pills at the
well, it's $1
drugstore?
Yeah,
right. But that's and you're paying, it's $20 for 500 pills, just say, and you're paying $7 to $8 a pill when you're sitting in there because you're stuck there and you don't have any other option. If we could get some of that kind, if we could keep that type of expense under control and some of the test expense under control, even if we kept paying our doctors at a decent rate so they could still want to work, still want to try, there's other places that we might be able to, without sacrificing quality, try to control the expense a little bit. But that's just my thinking.
Go ahead, Squibby.
Well, I was just going to say, do you know why they charge what they charge at the hospital for aspirin or for the overnight stay or for x-rays or any of that? Do you know why it's so high?
Oh, I'm sure labor costs is a huge part of it.
That's not it.
Nope. It's for all the people who don't pay their doctor bills. It's for all the people that go into the emergency room when they have a cold and then skip out on paying the bill. It's for all the people that go into the hospital. They can't turn you down if you don't have insurance and go in there and run up these ridiculous bills and don't ever pay them. It's also, to some extent, you can get on a monthly payment plan and pay off your debt. It could take forever, but if you talk to them and you approach them, you can even do something ridiculous like $10 a month, and that's gonna keep your credit score from tanking. But even
not
then,
always.
If you owed $10,000 and you're paying $10, if you don't miss a payment, and you're paying $10, it'll take you forever to pay it off, and they're still out all that money. So it's all these deadbeats that are coming in there with no insurance, people that are abusing the emergency room, people are skipping out on their bills, and all the illegals that are coming in there that don't get turned away.
That's all true, but the actual number one reason that all these hospitals are jacked up is because of government regulations and subsidies. If you take away those things, then you can manage the deadbeats that don't pay their bill.
But that's where at a comment towards the the payment. I don't know what hospitals allow you to make your own. I know I was 21, flipped a car, had to go into the ER, had insurance, had to set up a payment plan because it was more. The bill was more than I made in a month, and they agreed to make a payment plan. And they agreed to break it into 3 payments, and it was still, each month would be a grand total of what my take-home pay would be in a month. So I was able to do it thanks to because I was in school and family was able to help out. But I don't know what kind of payment plans we've seen with $10 a month. No offense, Squib.
I've had times in the past, different marriages and a lot less money. And I've been able to pay off all medical debt. And I went to them and I negotiated with them. I didn't wait for them to come to me. And I had one of them tell me, as long as you are paying us, we can't touch you legally. But you've got to make that monthly payment. You miss a payment, now you're in trouble, and now that's also going to affect your credit score. As long as you're paying something and you're paying on time, you'll be all right. Now, if something's changed since then, because it's been, I don't know, 20 years or more. Yeah, definitely more than 20 years since I've had to do that sort of thing. But the thing is still that I was raised not to dump my debts on other people. So I didn't look at it like, well, they owe me or whatever. No, I pay my bills. And that's another thing, too. Since pretty much most of my adult life, I've always had a job that offered health insurance and decent health insurance. And especially after I started having kids, that was my top priority. I do not understand somebody who has children and gets a job that doesn't offer health insurance. I mean, what kind of parent are you? There are tons of employers out there to offer it. Yes, some of it is expensive. Yes, some of the plans are bad. But something is better than nothing. And sometimes you've got to move around or you've got to do this or that to find that job. You may not be doing what you like, but your kids are your top priority. And if you can't provide for them, you might want to really think about if you want to have any more kids. I just don't understand that sort of thing. And I don't ever think you should have to pay for my kids.
As far as that part goes, and that's now what you just said at the end there is a factor, but depending on the state you live in, a lot of people that don't have insurance for themselves can get the kids covered under Medicaid or Kids Connection, something like that. Now, yes, that means that it is taxpayer funded, but a lot of people that don't have an option for themselves or can't afford the premiums on themselves, there are programs to get the kids covered so that it, the good parents at least know that, if you're playing on the playground and somebody busts a leg or something like that, that at least they're covered for the things that they need. Or if kids got asthma, something like that, that helps them get through to where they can pay for the inhalers and everything that they need for the kid to be able to survive. Those programs are there, and they're there for the people that need them. I think we could spend a whole night just talking about how people abuse the system as far as Medicaid and unemployment and food stamps, all that. We're not going to go there tonight, but those options are there for the kids a lot of the times, even if it's not there for mom and dad. I know that because I've seen that happen with a lot of folks over the years where the kids were covered, even though the rest of them weren't. Or I've also seen people that they only took out single insurance or employee spouse insurance and didn't cover the kids because the state would cover the kids up until a certain age. So, there's a lot of options out there that whatever people need to do to make ends meet. So I can understand the appeal on the front side of somebody coming along and saying, hey, elect me as president, and I'm going to make it to where you don't have to pay premiums for health insurance, and you don't have to pay when you go to the hospital. I get that. I understand the appeal, but it's the back end that always comes along, and somebody still has to pay that bill, right? And so, again, the only way this works is if the doctors don't have to take a pay cut. Well, first of all, they're going to. But second of all, let's say it's a perfect society and the doctors don't have to take a pay cut and they're still going to get paid as much as they always have. But all of a sudden, it's no longer the insurance companies or you yourself that are paying for all of the procedures where they gain their money. Well, that means all of a sudden that all of their money has to come from the government, which most of it's not coming from the government right now. So there's a huge vacuum that the government has to fill. So where does that money come from? What happens if we tax the extra rich? We add a couple extra percent on. If you study your history, you would know that back during World War II and directly after, the top tax bracket was 90% for the super wealthy. But due to loopholes and extremely good accountants, the average tax paid was about 41%, 40 to 41, somewhere in there. And Kennedy said, well, there's no need to have it at 90% since it's not doing any good. And he lowered it to right around 70% for the top bracket. People still kept paying about 40% regardless. Reagan lowered it to 41 for the top tax bracket. And so typically it doesn't matter how much you say you're going to tax the extremely wealthy. They're going to pay the same amount they always have because they can afford the best accountants to find them the ways out of it. Or they're going to hide their wealth, or all of these things that people are talking about doing. There's going to be some time between November and January, even if the day after the inauguration, somebody could snap their fingers and put these programs into place instantly. They've still got those 2 months to take all their liquid assets, everything that they have, and hide it or reinvest it or do whatever they need to do. And that money's not going to be there when it comes time to tax it. So I don't know how we pay for all this. It would be a great idea in theory, but I've not yet seen a practical way to tax it, unless all of a sudden my paycheck gets a lot smaller because I'm sending a lot more of it to Washington. That's the only way that this happens. And
I don't think anybody wants that to happen.
Well, here's the rub. There are a ton of people, Night Strike, that do. There are a ton of people out there that are willing to say, you know what? If you take half of my money in taxes and I don't have to pay for anything, then I'm okay with it. If the government, in all of its benevolence and all of its infinite wisdom, knows what's best for me and can provide better for me and make better decisions and choices for me than I can make, then why wouldn't I want to give them more taxes to help pay for them to make the decisions to keep me safe? There are a ton of people who are not independent, liberty-minded, the way that most of us here are.
I understand what you're saying, but you also need to take into account the cost of living is not equal across the country.
That's true.
So, if you take away half of someone's paycheck because the government needs it, then how are they going to be able to live? How are they going to feed themselves? How are they going to have a roof over them? How are they going to have utilities?
We're going to get there.
They're not.
We'll get there hopefully tonight, because we're going to raise that minimum wage up to $15 so that the poor people make $15 an hour.
Raising
the rich people make even more.
Does nothing but cause inflation.
That's what's the most diabolical about the Affordable Care Act is most people will say, well, my taxes are going to go through the roof. And then when you look at it, you see, well, my taxes weren't really raised, but we still got the Affordable Care Act. How is that possible? What they did was everybody who got enrolled into the Affordable Care Act and had to buy the insurance and has a family to support or whatever, the risky job or whatever reason you need health insurance, their premiums went through the roof and their deductibles went through the roof. They went from paying, $100 a quarter or whatever to $6,000 a quarter. And that's how they paid for Obamacare, because of all this money that's been force fed into the system that can't be used. Because if you've got a $3,000 deductible and a $3,000 premium, well, you're spending the whole year paying your premium, not saving up for that deductible. And you're not going to the doctor when you're sick. But, some college kid who's got the sniffles or crashed his skateboard is going to go to the emergency room and then not pay the bill anyway, because he's got Obamacare, because you paid for it and you can't use it. That's why it has to go. Every single word of it has to go.
Well, and keep in mind too that we saw a little bit of this, and we would see obviously more if Obamacare would come back, or something would happen to make it even worse than it is now, to where if people are going to, but we have to be prepared for this idea, and that's what we're talking about tonight. We're playing a lot of what ifs, but these are what ifs that are very real, and they're not that far fetched. But let's say that half the people in America ditch their private insurance and go on to something that is state funded or federally funded. The people that keep their private insurance, all of a sudden, those insurance companies just lost half of their income. They're not willing to take a pay cut either. So who's going to pay that bill? The people that stayed. Their premiums are going to go up to cover the difference.
Nope.
Every time there is a business, or I shouldn't say a business, anytime somebody is losing money from one source, they have to make it up with another source, or they go out of business. That is the law of the jungle, right? So if I've got these bills to pay and all of a sudden I have to take a different job and I make half as much as I used to, then I'm probably going to have to take out another job that pays half again. And I might have to work, 15, 18 hours a day just to make ends meet, because I've still got those bills to pay. The government's still going to have the bills to pay. The insurance companies still have the bills to pay. And if they lose half their income, then somebody else is going to have to replace it. That's just the nature. Again, Travis, you hit it on the head. No matter what we're talking about, whether it's healthcare or any other industry, these are constants. These are just the way things work. And you can project all you want and say, well, we're going to tax, these transactions on Wall Street. Okay, what if people stop transacting on Wall Street because the taxes got too high? Then what's your plan if that happens? You have to have fail-safes and contingencies, and nobody's planning ahead for the fact that it's a house of cards. It's extremely precariously balanced, and if even one part of it goes off kilter, the whole thing comes down.
If everybody's got free health care, the lines at the doctor's office and the emergency rooms and the dentist office, and they're going to be astronomically long, and the quality of care is going to take a serious dive.
Of course it will. We've seen that in every other country that's been there.
Something I was going to say real quick is I've been up to Canada before and talked to people about their healthcare system. We were up there for a church trip a couple of years ago. Good buddy of mine that taught with me, he was from Spain. And these countries that have their socialized healthcare systems where they're paying 30, 40, 50% income tax based off your income, they still offer private health insurance. So even though people are getting taxed like crazy, if you got that money, if you're an elite, you can still get those private clinics. You can. Crowder did a video on that too, I think one time, but I did, But yeah, my friend in Spain said, he goes, his family had private healthcare insurance because they didn't want to wait hours to go get the stitches or wait days for this. Or, he had some elderly family members that the whole family had the private health insurance. That I don't know if the state offered it or if it's state run through private corporations, but if you got the money, you can get the private care. So here they are paying all these taxes, yet they still have to pay for private good health care, And look at it, when you go to places like UNMC in Omaha, you see people from foreign countries that are there because they know they're not going to be able to make it in their home countries if they don't come to the U.S. for surgery. So, that just shows you how much of a failed system the socialized medical system really is. So,
well, and not only that, but the proponents of socialism always want to point out all the European countries that are socialist, and they point to all the Scandinavian countries first.
Yeah.
And those countries are, in fact, they're coming out right now. A lot of the PMs and other people in those countries are coming out and saying, do not point at us as a paragon of socialism, because we're not. We have got extremely high taxes, but we still have privatized all of these industries that are making these things work.
Yeah, they tried it. Denmark is a perfect example. Denmark tried to be completely socialized medicine, and it was an absolute disaster right away. So what did they do? They handed their socialized medicine over to private companies, and now they have privatized socialist medicine.
Yeah.
I guess you would call it that. That's why it's
Yeah,
effective.
yeah.
It's because a private company runs it, not the government. The government screwed it up, and they admitted it.
Yeah. Actually, my friend's was going to be wife. They're not now. Speaking of the Denmark kingpin, she was from there, and when she needed a doctor visit or anything like that, stitches or even just a prescription or anything like that, she still had to go to a certain spot, to a certain town where they were set up to do all this, and it was like 45, 50 miles away from where she lived, because anything else was going to take too much time, and it was all set up. It was really weird. He tried to explain it to me one time, but it was all set up kind of like in sectors where, okay, if you're from here, you have to go to this clinic for this, and man, it was totally screwed up. So that's why when it was kind of that socialist deal, I was like, man, I can't even wrap my head around that.
Kind of like the way that schools are in a lot of areas and used to be in all of the areas. You have districts drawn up for a reason, because you don't want all of the kids going to one school and overloading it. So you have to have, the schools spread out across the population. Of course, some schools do better, and the places that don't have it are fighting for the open enrollment option, to where you can send your kid to whatever school you want to. Nebraska has that now within the state. You don't have to pay tuition to send your kids to a different district, but to go across the state line, you still do. So a lot of people are paying that, or a lot of people are actually grabbing a residence in the next state just so that they don't have to pay that. It's cheaper to have an apartment than it is to pay the tuition, because again, you want to send your kids to the best school. You want to send your kids to the best doctor. You want to send yourself to the best doctor. We all have seen what happens when the state comes in and not only controls everything, but funds everything, and they're not willing to pay top dollar. I know, Travis, in your industry, that teaching it's not the same way, but in almost every other industry, the private sector, you can make a ton more money than you can in the public sector. Yeah. Just because if you're good at something, you can charge what you want. If you've got a superior product, people will pay a superior price for your product. If your product is service, then it's service, but it stands the same.
And something I was thinking, you guys made the comment about the lack of better way of putting it, the more or less the death panel type idea with choosing who gets what. If it becomes 100% government decided, I think we'll start seeing like what was it last year before in Britain, when was it that one kid, I can't remember what the procedure they needed. The British government decided the kid didn't qualify for whatever reason.
I believe he was in a coma, and the government said you have to unplug him.
Right, and that's for not only did they say you had to do that, when other countries and the Vatican offered to provide the medical the kid needed, they wouldn't let him out of the hospital, and the government posted posted a police guard at the kid's room, so the parents couldn't take him out and to take him to somewhere he could get healthcare.
Oh God, I remember that.
Yes, I can't go Google the name right now, but yeah, I think we all can remember that happening.
Yeah, but people want us to be like that country.
Yeah, and that country doesn't even want to be like that country. They wanted they left the European Union because they don't even want to be like everybody else in Europe. They want to do their own thing again. There's something to be said for deunionizing and privatizing everything. Now, I understand the concept that if everything is completely privatized, then it becomes a Darwinian scenario where it's survival of the fittest, or in this case, survival of the richest, right? I get it. Not everybody has the same amount of money. And that's another one of the foundations of socialism is, they look at wealth differently than it really is. Or than it really is here right now, I should say. In a socialist society, wealth is a pizza. And it doesn't matter how many slices you cut into that pizza, it's the same amount of pizza. Whether you're cutting it into 8 slices or 12 slices, it's the same amount of pizza. So the more people that get a slice, the smaller each slice gets. And if one person gets 3 slices, that means that somebody else doesn't get any slices because there weren't enough slices to go around. The problem with that scenario is wealth is not finite. Wealth is not something that there's only so much and there's no chance of building more. That's not the way that it works. And so wealth inequality, in my mind, is not a bad thing. There's a reason why some people have more wealth than others. And ultimately, it comes down to either hard work or smart work, or a combination of the two. Now, you can say that Donald Trump did not earn all of the money that he's got. It was given to him. That is true. But where did that money come from before that? Where did his dad get it? Where did his dad get it? Where did somebody built that empire and made that money, and they worked hard to get it. Once it's theirs, that is their decision if they give it to their kid or not. That's their decision if they give it to charity or not. If they choose to keep it for themselves, they worked for it, they earned it, it's theirs to do what they want to do with it. Yeah, maybe they're an a-hole if they don't give any to charity, but that's their decision to make, not ours. It's none of our business.
And that's
what they do with it.
Taking the family name out of it, that's where if Generation 1 builds it, Lucky Break has a skill set needed or whatever, and decides to give it to Generation 2, if Generation 2 isn't willing to put in the same work and smarts that Generation 1 did, there's probably not going to be anything left for Generation 3.
We see that a lot too, don't we?
It's a matter of, if we have, it's like, okay, Trump, he was given a certain amount by his father, but he has had to been smart with it himself in order to keep it, and whether or not it has grown, I don't know enough about the guy, but the idea that's where smart work and hard work combination, having a skill and having an understanding that maybe the person next to you doesn't, and in applying it in a way that maybe they're not. If you can maintain what your family built, great, because that's where you could hand me the same amount of money that Trump got handed by his parents. I don't know what the heck to do with it. I don't have that skill. I know that.
Yeah, and I don't know the exact numbers, but I do know that Trump turned millions into billions, and that's not something that you can do without knowing what you're doing. Because that's a magnitude of 1,000. So a billion is 1,000 millions. You don't start with a few million and build it into a billion overnight. You got to know what you're doing.
I think a lot of people also lose in the concept of the argument that there's laws in place. There's corruption laws in place. There's monopoly laws in place. So it's not like, even if you had a true free market system, it's not like it would be the richest man ruling over everybody. because there's already laws in place to prevent that kind of stuff. So just because, say Michael Bloomberg opens an ice cream stand and then Calaveras opens an ice cream stand, just because Bloomberg has got the best and all the money and the fancy doesn't mean he's going to have better ice cream than Calaveras. Because Calaveras is homemade and with a special recipe, so his place is packed and Bloomberg's is up for sale.
Yes, exactly right. And that's the best thing about capitalism is that you may have a product and you take that and you run with it, and you're producing an item. You're employing a lot of people. I'm getting a lot of background noise. Can I have everybody mute your mic up if you've got stuff going on in the background? Anyway, if you're running with a product, you're employing a lot of people to build the product, to market the product, to sell the product, to deliver the product. You're feeding money into the economy. And if your product is good, people are spending their money on it, then everybody that works for you makes a good living. And so what happens is, what if I come along and I've got a product too, and I run with it and I produce that product and I hire a bunch of people and I have somebody that builds my product and sells my product and markets my product and delivers my product. Well, the people that you employ are going to buy my product, and my people are going to buy your product, and we help each other. We're both putting money into an economy. And the more people we employ and the more people we pay, the more products they can afford to buy, and the more people we can keep going as business owners, and we build an economy on this. It's not something that, all of a sudden we're taking the money and taking it out of this pocket and putting it into this pocket and there's no more money. It's just we've moved it. No, we're building an economy. There's more money coming in. We're creating jobs. We're creating wealth for people. And there's not a cap on that. It can keep going. We can keep building it. The only thing we're limited to is our own ambition, really. So, if I go into a room with 4 other people, there's 5 of us, and I'm the only one with a job, I've got a $5 bill. In a capitalist society, those other 4 people can go out and get a job, and they can come back the next day, and 5 people in the room each have a $5 bill, and now that room's got $25 in it. That's how capitalism can work. Now, in a socialist environment, I've got $5. The other 4 people don't have $5. They don't have anything. So my wealth gets redistributed and everybody gets $1 and I lose $4. Everybody else gains $1. They're all happy. I'm pissed off because I've got 1/5 of what I used to have. But it's fair. But it's not fair to me because they didn't work for the $5. I did. I'm the one that went out and earned it. And for everything that someone is given that they didn't earn, there's somebody else that earned it and they were not given it. And that is my number one reason that I will not stand for a socialist economy, because that is based on everybody being given things that they didn't earn and everybody earning things that they're not given.
You also forget to mention that in a socialist economy or a socialist government, only the ruling class have more money than everyone else.
Well, somebody has to make the decisions, Night Strike.
Yeah, well,
somebody has to be smart.
I'm not arguing that point. I'm just saying that the 1% that's on top is the people running the country, and everybody else is
and that's a necessary
standing in line for bread.
That is a necessary feature in a socialist economy. Is somebody has to be the decision maker. Somebody has to know what's best for you and everybody else. But who gets to decide? Who gets to decide?
What was the line from Animal Farm? Socialism, everyone's equal, but some are more equal.
Right?
Than others.
Yep, some of us are more equal than others. Yep, and that's exactly what happens. And to me, the whole system is based on greed. And people have tried to say that capitalism is based on greed. It's not. Capitalism is based on equality. It's based on fairness, and it's based on survival of the fittest. If you don't believe me, go to Amazon.com. The things that you buy from Amazon, does Jeff Bezos make those? Does he own a factory that's building any of that? Maybe some of.
Made in China.
I think there's a few clothing lines and stuff like that are Amazon brands, and he actually does probably own the factories that build those or
they're
contract
listed
them.
as Amazon Basics.
Right.
Yeah.
So aside from that, then that's a small part of what's on Amazon.com. But all of those other products, Jeff Bezos does not produce those. Those products are there from other entrepreneurs. If you build a product and you pay what you need to pay to get it onto Amazon, people can shop for it there. They can find it there. They can buy it there. And if you've got a good product, you're going to live. And if you've got a crap product, you're going to die. That is the nature of the beast when it comes to free market, because nobody is telling me what I can and cannot buy. I'll make my own choices. And if you've got a good product, then I'll buy it. If it's something that I need or if it's something that I want, then I will buy your product. If you have a product that I either don't need or don't want, or I need or I want something like it, but not that one because it's junk, then I'm not going to buy your product. But in a socialist society, everybody's given the same product. The state controls what product it is, who builds it. You might get told that you're going to work in that factory, and you say, no, I don't want to work in a factory. I want to go, I want to be a dentist or a doctor or a lawyer. And the socialist society says, we've got enough doctors and lawyers. We need somebody to go build this in the factory. Or we need somebody to go pick up poop in the park. Or we need somebody to go work on the wastewater treatment, the poop plant that stinks so bad out past the edge of town that's typically downwind of town most of the time, if the planners built it right. Somebody has to do all those nasty jobs that nobody wants to do. And in a free market, those jobs actually pay pretty darn well because nobody wants to do them, and the only way to get anybody to do them is to pay them and reward them for it. But in a socialist society, there is no reward for hard work because everybody has to work hard so that the state can collect the money and tell you what you get and what you don't. So that means that somebody still has to do all those jobs, and it's not by choice. You get told to do it. And if you choose not to do it, they will convince you very, very quickly when they threaten to put you or your family in jail or in a gulag. Guess what? If you go to a gulag, you're going to be doing work you don't want to do, or you get shot. And that is the reality of what happens. It doesn't start that way, but it has to get there, or it has to change from a socialist society. Those are the only two options to make it work.
That's where they come in with free education for everybody, is because everybody thinks that they're going to go to college for free and become a surgeon. And when you go and sign up for college and they see your test scores and they say, well, you're not going to be a surgeon here, go over to this class, learn how to do, I don't know, lawnmower repair, whatever the deal is. So that's how they're gonna drive people to the jobs that they want. Is the free education they got is going to be refrigerator repairman, or if you're smart enough, you'll be the surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
Or how about
Now,
how un-American the whole platform is about how much we're just going to give and give and give all this stuff for free, and how it's just going to be, oh, we'll forgive your loans, we'll get you more money, we'll give you this, we'll give you this, we'll give you the free health care. How about how un-American that is?
Out there in the chat, before we get too far here, Blitz has a great question, and he says, I know this isn't the current topic, but why are socialists against firearms? Well, what I just said. If you are in a system where all of a sudden there's no incentive for working because the government's going to give everybody the same thing anyway, then nobody wants to work, but jobs still need to get done. So therefore, they have to force people to do certain jobs, sometimes against their will. And nobody can force me to do things against my will if I am armed. That is why one of the very first tenets of socialism is to disarm the population, because a disarmed population can be controlled. And an armed population cannot be controlled. And they can't afford that. It topples before it gets going if you can't control your population. If you can't say that you got to do this job and you got to do this job and you got to do this job and back that up because only the state has guns. Socialists aren't against guns. They're against anybody but the government having them.
Technically, what you said is the second part. The first part is socialists are totally for guns, but only so they can start the revolution to have their socialist republic. And then they're against guns because only they, the government, should have them.
Yeah, that's a good point, too.
I want to make a few comments real quick about, the free education for everybody. Myself being a high school teacher, if you look at how Europe does it, the system is set up where only the kids that get the free education are the ones that score in the top percentage, just like it is here for getting scholarships, right? But over there, you get those kids get to go to school and it's paid for and this and that. But then the kids that don't make that upper 10%, they're told, well, you can go to this trade school that you qualified for, that trade school, which is fine. Or you can go find yourself a job where you don't go, or mom and dad can pay to send you to another country, or they can pay our tuition to send you to our schools. That's what happened to a buddy of mine that I taught with, who from Spain. His sister didn't qualify. Mom and dad ended up having to pay for tuition for her to go to college. He got to go because he qualified. Now, the other problem you run into is when people get that tuition paid for, these kids want to go into jobs that are going to be the highest paying jobs when they get done. Well, the problem that they have over in Europe right now is there's some countries that have a glut of surgeons, a glut of lawyers, a glut of architects that can't find employment because everybody went into that because that was the job that was going to be the highest paying job when they get out of college. Okay, that part, that's one issue you're going to have is you're going to have too many people that they're qualified for, but you don't have enough positions available.
Like a liberal arts degree here in the States?
Yeah, it's like, you
what do you do with that? Yeah, you went to school for 4 years and you can't get a job because there's nobody hiring a liberal artist.
And the problem with a lot of the people over in foreign countries and what his sister-in-law ran into is, she had this nursing degree. She couldn't find employment because the hospitals were full of nurses and doctors. She couldn't go to a foreign country because they wouldn't accept her license, And then you're going to have kids that are going to be going to college because if they can somehow get into it, that probably aren't ready for it. They're going to be the 4 or 5 out of 10 that don't make it past their first semester. And we're fitting the bill on that. That scares me right there too, because you see that happening anyway. And then just tell everybody, everybody gets to go. Then everybody's going to want to go because it's a 4-year party, right? So it's not a perfect system. I got no scholarships when I graduated. My parents didn't have any money put back for me when I graduated. I worked every summer in a beef packing plant to pay for college. So I'm not about just giving up free money or giving up my tax money so you can go enjoy it. If a company wants to pay for a scholarship, great. If there's grants out there, whatever, fine. Okay. If there's a foundation organization that wants to pay for a kid's tuition, let them. Great. That's fine. But I just don't think that just because you're in the top 10%, you get to go for free,
Well, and there's a difference between somebody volunteering to pay for scholarships and grants and things like that and being forced into paying it, whether you wanted it or not. Or in this case, if we were to forgive all the student loan debt right now, because people took a huge loan out to go to, a big name school, and then turns out that they can't get a job with the degree that they got, but they've still got to pay that loan back somehow. And now all of a sudden they're stuck and they made poor life choices because they didn't go into a field that had a high demand for workers, but they've got to pay this bill off. And now they want the government to just forgive them that bill. Again, the financial institutions, the lending companies still get owed that money. If we don't pay that back, then they all fold and those workers are out of a job too. So somebody's got to pay that bill.
Yeah.
Which means, yes, Bernie wants to tax the Wall Street transactions and things like that, which is fine. People will stop trading those securities and those. I don't even know how it works, but I know that a lot of the money that gets traded right now is people's retirement funds, and we can't have that tank or we're all in a bad boat. But if those transactions would stop, then where are we going to get the money? If we tax the super wealthy, they're going to hide their money, so we're not going to be able to get to it to tax it. So then where are we going to get the money? Again, it goes back to pretty soon that 52% income tax that the middle class is looking at paying is a realistic thing. It's not going to be on the super wealthy. And the middle class can't afford to get out of paying all the income tax. So even if it started at 52%, pretty soon there's not enough money. So we're going to have to raise that and raise it and raise it and raise it. And pretty soon people are paying 70% income tax in the middle class and they can't afford to not pay it. So they're bringing home 30% of the paycheck that they're still going to work for every day. And what do they get out of it? What do I get? Because I don't have a student loan and I don't have a college degree. So why should I pay for a student loan? Why should I be responsible to pay that back when I don't get any benefit from it, and I didn't agree to take that loan out in the first place?
The most sinister thing about the Bernie Sanders and the Wall Street he wants to tax Wall Street speculation. And what makes that, if you're a crook, it's really genius, because Wall Street speculation changes every single day. One day you could bring in $1 billion of tax money. The next day you could bring in $500 million. The next 3 days you could bring in $14 billion. Because Wall Street speculation is them guessing on how much money they're going to make.
Yeah.
And when you can speculate, tax their guessing, it's going to do exactly like you said. It's going to tank the market right away. Because instead of me guessing, because I'm greedy, that I'm going to make $50 billion today, I'm going to guess that I'm going to make $5 today. So Bernie can only get a couple dollars of it.
Yep,
right.
exactly.
I agree with that. First thing I want to say, and there was a great quote by, I think most of you guys out there know the guy, Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs. And he said, I was watching the deal a couple days ago, and he said, look where everybody is going in a certain direction, like lawyers, doctors, the super high paying 4 to 8 year college. And he said, go the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And really that's genius. I mean, because like what you were saying, Sandhill, was everybody's racking up all this debt for jobs and stuff that may not be there or already full by the time that you get out of college. But if you go this way, in the opposite direction that everybody else is going, hey, there's the job. And you only have to go to a trade school or a 2-year community college or an apprenticeship, and you don't have that debt. So anyway, that's
and you can take home a lot more money every month than the people that went to that expensive school, racked up all that debt, and now are scratching their head trying to figure out how to make their degree pay, and they are flipping burgers. Because that is the reality.
Then,
if you take if you get an education in a field where there aren't that many jobs, or there's way more workers than there are jobs to go around, then the reality is you're not going to use that degree and you're going to go work at Walmart until they raise the minimum wage to $15. And then nobody's going to work at Walmart because they're going to replace that one check stand that's open with a self-checkout. And they won't have workers. Machines will replace all the workers. It's happening in McDonald's now. You can walk into McDonald's and walk up to the kiosk there and not even talk to a warm body and actually get the order put in right. And they're not paying anybody to take that order.
That's where, as you know, I'll admit, I am a college grad. That's right. Part of why I chose the degree I did in civil engineering is that there was a need for it. There was job opportunities. I know a few people though that they got their degrees around the same time I did, and some of them required student loans to get it, and other ones had other means to pay for it, or at least here in California, the work summer jobs to pay for your to pay for it doesn't work very well when we're looking at, what is it, $2,500 to $3,000 per semester. It's hard to make that much in a summer, but some people have to go to school for a semester, take a year off, then go to school for a semester, then take a year off, whatnot, to pay for it. But like I had to take for my final year of school, in order to pay for it, I had to take a loan. But that's for, and I've had offers mailed to me about student loan forgiveness. I've just ripped them up because I am the one that agreed to that loan. I knew what I was signing when I signed it, and I refused to let someone else pay it for me. But that's why I chose a degree that there was a demand for, and before I even graduated, I had a job lined up.
Sure.
I know one of the gals I graduated high school with, perfect example, real bright gal. She got a degree. I think it took her 4.5 years, so not real, pretty quick, really. English literature. Honestly, still don't know if she has a job. Last I saw her was a couple years ago, and she was working at a pizza joint in our hometown. Because the degree she got, there wasn't enough work available with that particular degree. And the more people you give free college to, the more you're going to start having people taking jobs that don't pay or no work available. So you really going to have to do your research about picking one that, one, you can do the rest of your life, and two, you can actually make a living at.
So if I can ask you a couple personal questions about your loan, Calaveras, you did have a student loan then?
Yes, did.
Okay, and if you don't mind me asking, are you still paying on that, or is it paid for?
I'm still making my monthly.
Okay, so the people that should be the most upset about the notion of student loan forgiveness are the people that just got done paying for theirs. So let's say that you're set to have yours paid off just 5 years from now, Calaveras, and you know what? Scrap that. Let's say that you're set to have yours paid off next month. Bernie gets into the White House and actually gets his way, and they forgive all student loan debt next year. How mad are you going to be that you get nothing out of this deal? You paid for yours, and now you get to pay for everybody else's.
Oh, I'd be livid.
It's bad enough that I've got to pay for them, but I didn't have my own to pay for. You do. You're going to pay yours off and pay for everybody else's. Then you should be twice as mad.
Oh yeah, I'd be livid, and that's where, like I said, there's a big part of why I chose the degree I did, and that's where, because I'm a civil engineer. I'm still working on my license, so I haven't got that yet. But that's where I'm in the industry. I didn't take my original degree direction because when I looked into it, there was very few jobs in the country that offered it. So I chose one that would work, that I could pay. Yeah, I would be livid if I made a smart decision based on work availability, and if Joe and Jane Smith over there, they took out. Mine was small. I think it was only about $6,000, so it was just enough to pay my bills. But I know people that are 6 figures in that would love to have their loans paid off without them having to put a dime into it. I'd be livid because it'd be my tax money because I made a smart decision and they didn't.
I actually am going to use that as my retirement plan. Just on the off chance that Bernie would actually get elected, I plan to act like I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to take out as big a loan as I can take out. Then I'm probably not actually going to even enroll. And I'll put that money into some investments for the future on the, basis that I'm not going to have to pay any of that money back anyway. So I'll just plan on working the system.
Come on, John. Let's go back and do a semester. It'd be fun.
Nah, I'm not even going to go back to school. I'm just going to take the money from the student loan
out of it or something. So
no, I'm not honestly going to do that. But how many people are going to get that notion? Look, free money that we're not going to have to pay back. Let's go ahead and take a loan out. I mean, it's going to compound the problem because there's going to be a ton of people that go ahead and do it knowing full well that they won't be responsible for paying for it. If you could take out a loan, default on the loan, and not get in trouble, would you?
Now,
I mean,
the takeaway John is trying to tell everyone is that no matter whether you have to pay for it or not, somebody has to pay for it. So it's going to be taken out of somebody's taxes or someone's paycheck. It's going to be taken away from someone.
I don't care. A lot of people won't.
And a lot of people
I personally do care. I care very much, but a lot of people aren't going to give a crap.
Yeah, and that's the problem. That is the problem.
I don't care. I deserve this because I woke up today and I breathe air, and I should have everything I want. I should have the latest iPhone, and I should have, the chance to go to college and party for 4 years and gain that college experience. And somebody else should have to pay for it because I don't want to work for it. I want it, but I don't want to have to work hard for it. I want a boat, and I want a camper, and I want a cabin, and up in the mountains. I want all this stuff too, but I don't actually want to have to work hard to get all that stuff. I just want to take out loans and loans and loans, and pretty soon I'm swimming up to my eyeballs in debt that I can't pay for across the board. That is how people are starting to live today. So why wouldn't the people that are trying to scrimp and just make all their minimum payments every month, why wouldn't those people feel the burn? Honestly, if there's somebody that comes along and says, you know what, you've got all this debt and we'll figure out a way to make sure you don't have to pay all of it back, who wouldn't jump at that if they're not smart enough to understand that they're still going to pay for it somehow? Yeah. I don't fault the people for liking the idea of the free stuff. I fault them for not studying history and economics and not understanding that nothing is free.
Yeah, well, something I saw was $15 an hour minimum wage, assuming a full-time job would be $31 a year roughly. Mm-hmm. And the policy that if you dig through Bernie's stuff, and anyone making more than $25 a year would be paying 53%.
I tried to fact check that. I can't find 52% over 29,000 anywhere. So it's either an old plan that he's not currently promoted because it's not on his website anywhere. 52% is if you make I don't remember now. It was either millions or billions. I think it was in the millions, or it was the high six figures anyway. 52%.
Okay, well, thank you for correcting me on that.
Yeah, now I've seen that go. In fact, I shared it on Facebook. Those of you that like my Facebook page maybe saw that post, and I deleted it after some people started questioning it. I went and fact checked it myself, and every time I share something with numbers like that, and I haven't fact checked it, every time it bites me in the butt. So you'd think I'd learn, but that's what happens when you post something and you haven't checked it out. Don't just blindly post things, kids. Learn from my mistakes. You look like a dumbass when you do that.
There's another interesting angle to look at it, though, too. America is unique than all these other places, I'll be nice, across the world, that socialism and even Denmark, all that. America is better and far greater than all of them all put together. And our resources are better, our military, all that kind of stuff. Bernie Sanders isn't interested in your college money. Let's not forget that. Bernie Sanders is interested in our natural gas money, our oil money, our military money, our military power and influence across the world.
Yeah.
He's not looking to rob our piggy bank. He's looking to rob the whole bank. Don't be mistaken. This is about a Dr. Evil type of domination type of stuff.
Now, having said that, and that's a great point. Having said that, I honestly believe the people that say that Bernie is not Dr. Evil. Because honestly, I don't think he's smart enough to be Dr. Evil. But I honestly believe that he honestly believes the crap that he's selling. Okay, Bernie has been saying this for so long that he's convinced himself he's right. He believes his own BS. Okay, Bernie thinks that doing what's best, or he's promoting what's best for us as a country. He really believes that that's the best way to go, and I don't think he is malevolent in his ideals. Bernie's not the one I'm worried about. What is it that Chad Prather always says? I don't fear the burn, I fear the afterburn. Bernie's the guy that gets us there. It's the one that comes behind him that abuses it and takes us into that next level of all of a sudden, this isn't any fun anymore. Stop the ride. I want to get off. It's not Bernie. The problem is the door is open and we can't keep the next person from doing it. We've taken away all of the fail safes. We've taken out all the checks and balances. And now all of a sudden, somebody who is corrupt is going to step in there and take us all for a ride worldwide.
So Bernie is Lenin, and whoever comes after him is Stalin.
Exactly. Yeah, I honestly believe that. I honestly believe that Bernie has our best interest and his own. Don't get me wrong. I mean, anybody with 4 houses and $1 million in the bank isn't 100%, benevolent. I get that. He's not a philanthropist, but he honestly doesn't think that this is gonna fold. He thinks that he can do it better. Everybody that's pushed a brand of socialism has always said those other countries didn't do it right. I'll do it right. Every time somebody has said something to that effect. This is a good idea. This is going to be different. It's going to work this time. It's like all those times that Lucy convinces Charlie Brown to kick the football. Don't worry, Charlie Brown. I won't pull it out this time. And Charlie Brown winds up and goes to kick the ball, and Lucy pulls the ball away, and he falls on his butt every single time. But there's always another Lucy coming along convincing Charlie Brown that this is going to be a good idea. And for those of you that don't understand what I just said, you young pups, go read Peanuts.
Right on, man.
Or watch it.
Yeah. The one thing, well, there's actually several things that Bernie's socialism will kill as far as a capitalist goes. It's going to be motivation and innovation. That is, in my mind anyway, is the two biggest things that make up capitalism. Because if there's something out there that somebody can create, that somebody wants, and the motivation to go out and do it, and I mean like getting out a loan and hiring the right people and doing all that stuff, it's just motivation and innovation. I mean, that's what makes capitalism great. Because if you have the ambition to go out and do it, and you've got the innovation, there it is. I mean, that's one of the two biggest things that is about capitalism, right there. And I want to chime the last thing. I want to thank Defense Dad for going to the state capitol and testifying up there. Great Nebraskan, great patriot. Thank you very much. I know he hasn't chimed in and said much tonight, but I just wanted to give props to him.
Absolutely. Yeah, we won't get into that a whole lot because number one, tonight's not about that, and number two, I'm gonna make a lot of people mad if I talk too much about what happened last Friday. So we'll skip that for now. But anyway, I think it's time to start wrapping this up. So before we have everybody sign off, does anybody have anything else they want to add as far as anything we've been discussing here tonight?
I think we covered the main topics that people are going to be hearing about or things that are going to be promised out there. Just remember, people, it's never free.
Wait, I got something.
What's that?
Okay, I'm going to lay it on you. All right?
Bring it on.
Socialism didn't win the Cold War, so that's why capitalism is better.
All right. Well, that's very, very true. And the USSR, had they been able to get their poop in a group, they had the population base to become the greatest country in the world, right? They had the resources to become the greatest country in the world. And you're exactly right. The reason that they could not win the Cold War was because of their government model, and they kept tripping over their own feet. And that doesn't work. And there was no incentive other than fear. There's no incentive for people to go to work. There's no reward. When everybody gets the same paycheck, no matter how hard they work, pretty soon nobody works hard at all.
And remember, towards the end of the Cold War, where people were standing in line just for bread.
Now, Bernie says that's good because at least that country had bread to give them. A lot of people are starving to death around the world that aren't in a bread line.
Yeah, a lot of those people were starving already.
They should be thankful that they're in a bread line. They should be thankful that the benevolent government has the money to buy them bread and feed them and take care of their needs. Never mind the fact that they don't want bread. They want to have, garlic bread, or they want to have a croissant every now and then.
They
doesn't matter.
Steak.
At least
they want to have potatoes. They want to live the American dream.
That's right. They want to go to Whataburger. But nope, That's not an option. The government says you get this loaf of bread, you get this block of cheese. That's what you get. Take it and go home. Yep, exactly. All right. Any other comments before we wrap this up?
Yeah, Whataburger is a glorified Burger King or McDonald's.
You shut your mouth. You take that back right now.
But a glorious one.
They are good, though. Got to admit, they're pretty good. My town's getting the Hardee's, and hopefully, last rumor I heard was maybe next month it's going to open up. So, Levi out there in the chat lives in my town. We're getting Hardee's, Levi. And Schofield out there is just a couple miles away from us. So, welcome, Schofield. I didn't get a chance after I saw that where you said you were from, but hey, neighbor, he's from the next town, or he or she. I didn't mean to gender assume. I'm sorry. Schofield lives in the next town over.
I think we all need to meet at Hardee's for some burgers here, Sam.
I'm down. You know what?
Let's do it.
Here's something that we've been meaning to do. It's not going to happen in March because Monday and Tuesday this next week are out, obviously. But I think we're going to have an Every Second Matters get together every month on the 2nd. Unless it's a Tuesday, then I probably will miss it because I'll be here. Or not. Maybe we'll do something live from an event. But we need to get together here in Norfolk, Nebraska. Anybody that is within driving distance on the 2nd, and just hang out and have supper. And I will try to find a place that doesn't mind if people walk in open carrying, if they want to do that, and they'll, we can actually get together as a group, break bread, have our firearms openly carried. Everybody can see that nothing bad happens. We're normal people. We're just having some fun, and it is completely okay to do so. And maybe we can get some people to ask us questions, and we can bring some more folks into the fold. How cool would that be? So it's not going to happen in March. It's not going to happen in April because that is Wanamaker weekend. So potentially it won't happen in May. Oh, it won't happen in May because we'll be in Jamaica June 2nd. I've got some time to plan this now. June 2nd, we will kick that off, and hopefully we'll be able to do that every month here. So wouldn't that be cool?
Right on, man. It's 4 days before the rally.
Hopefully, yeah. We don't know for sure. The date's not locked down yet. So once we get permits, we'll announce for sure the date. But hopefully early June is going to be the time of the rally. So anyway, all right. Well, we'll let everybody say goodnight before we wrap it up with the list. So we'll just go back through here. Squib Load, thanks for hanging out with us tonight.
Good night.
Good night. All right. Pat, thanks for joining us from down there in that. Are you in Webster County? Is that where Innovale is? I'd have to look.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well,
I'm just literally 5-6 miles off the Kansas border.
Right. That much I did know.
Aren't we all?
You're a few
Thanks for having
miles
me
farther
on. I
than that.
appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, Pat. Thanks for being here. All right, Kingpin. Thanks for joining us tonight. It was good to have you again.
Oh, always a good time. Thanks for having me. I appreciate everybody.
You bet. And you had some really good stuff to say tonight. Defense Dad. Pat called you out for not talking too much, but with this panel, I don't blame you a bit because you got to kind of fight to get a word in. You'll learn. You'll get good at this where you just kind of start taking the initiative here. But thanks for joining us tonight, Defense Dad. I think you're there. It looked like you were trying to talk. But now I can't hear you. But we're going to take that as a... Oh, yeah. Microphone might be having issues, but go check out Defense Dad on YouTube. He's got some really good videos out there. And a really good video from the hearing on LB 816 this last weekend. So go check out Defense Dad. All right. Calaveras, thanks for hanging out with us.
Hey, I appreciate the invite, and yeah, it was a great conversation tonight. I think I kicked the hornet's nest a couple times, but it all led to good conversation, so I think it worked out.
For those of you who are not yet aware, that's what we do here. We kick the hornet's nest sometimes because if we don't challenge a few people's thoughts, they never know what they think. So, Travis, thanks for hanging out with us again. Travis, you're muted. He might have had to let the dog out.
There we go.
Oh.
Hey. Yeah, sorry, man. No, I'm here. I just wanted to say I just subscribed to Defense Dad's channel. I'm subscriber number 35. So there you go. Numbers are growing exponentially. Thanks for the invite, man. I appreciate it. A lot of fun tonight. Good discussions. And yeah, it's freedom isn't free and neither is college. So let's just get that out right now.
That's exactly right. Real quick here, let me just do... I can't type tonight. There's a link in the chat for Defense Dad's channel. So for those of you that can't go to his channel through the chat, you can just click that link and go check out Defense Dad. Let's get him some subs. Thumb those videos up of his because they are worth. In fact, if it counted twice, I'd unthumb just to thumb it again, but it doesn't matter. So I only thumb once. So, all right. Duke, thanks for joining us again, sir. I think I'm catching people off guard with this here unmuting thing.
I think you are.
I might be. Duke, you still there? He might have had to go do some stuff too. All right. Well, Duke, if you we'll come back to you, or you can just jump in, but go check out Duke Liberty as well. He's got some good stuff out there as well on his channel. So, all right. And then last but certainly not least, we have got the Tube Father, the gun tuber who strikes at night. Night Strike.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having the chamber so we can have more than 6 people in here at a time.
We had a pretty good conversation. Yeah, we were stepping all over each other, but we were having a pretty good conversation.
You know, and the best part is we didn't have bad times where people were walking on each other. For the most part, 2 people start to talk and then both people stop and let the other one go. And yeah, that's just how it works. It works out. Everybody, I think, got a chance to be heard, and that's the main thing. So, all right, we'll go to the list here. And everybody that commented tonight, we want to thank all of you for being out there in the chat, because without you, we don't have a chat. There's not much need for us to go live if the 9 of us just get together and talk and nobody's listening. Nobody's commenting out there. So hopefully we made a lot of you think tonight. But out there in the chat, we had Pat Hirsch, Squibload, Calaveras 32 Special, Defense Dad, Blue Steel 44, Jay Brown, Blitz, G23, 7 Wonders, Guitar Man Pete, Bishop Ammunition and Firearms. If you haven't gone and checked out Bishop Ammunition and Firearms, you really need to. You talk about some really cool big bore stuff. Those ladies know where it's at. Kinky Sphincters out there, SS Pawn, Ghost Tactical, Carvings by Levi, Keith Gregory, Dangerous Freedom, Agorizer, 10X Shooters, Night Strike 1, Duke Liberty, Kingpin, Midnight Range TM, 2 Live Moo, Mike, 2 Gun Kitty, Mike, you know what day tomorrow is? Mike. 2 Gun Kitty, the Catnip Outlaw, 9mm, Vash Matrix, Schofield 63 from the next county over, just south and east of where I am. Patriot in the Dark. Didn't even see you out there, pal. I'm sorry. The Poor Conservative, New York Outcast, Kevin the Tack Daddy, Sean Callanan, Weston Probst, Josh Howard, Clover was here, Tennessee Gun Guy, MM53. And if we missed you, it's because you didn't talk enough. So make sure you drop a lot of comments out there so you make it onto the list. Also, if you talk to Sandhill's Sweetheart, that's a great way to get on the list. So again, just a reminder, due to a funeral next Tuesday, we will not get together and have a Get Off My Lawn podcast next week. We appreciate all of you understanding. And we will take the week off to do family stuff and say some final goodbyes there. And we'll hit it back up in 2 weeks. So we hope to see everybody there. I don't know for sure what we're going to talk about yet. If you have suggestions that you want us to cover, you can always drop those into an email at sandhillsshooter@gmail.com. If you are a patron on Patreon, you can message me direct there. And you are probably going to have a little bit more pull than the rest of the world. You can also private message over on Facebook if you're on the Sandhill Shooter Facebook page. So go check us out. Hit us up. We like to hear from you. Whether you liked or didn't like what we had to say, we always want to know how you're feeling about it. So check us out on all of those places. On behalf of Pat Hirsch, Squibload, Kingpin, Defense Dad, Calaveras 32 Special, Duke Liberty, Night Strike, Travis P11, Sandhill Sweetheart, and myself, we love you. Thanks for joining us, and get off my lawn.